Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. Listen, guys, there is some breaking news coming from the United States from a few hours ago. Obviously, I was in bed. There's been a mass shooting in America in a place called Concord. Now, I'm just getting to grips with this in real time, so I'm going to lead with an article from the Mirror. I'm reading this at real time, guys, okay? So I don't know what this is all about, and I'm going to try and find as much information out about that as I can. Now, this is Concord shooting. Families run in terror as gunman opens fire at Christmas event. Now, I'm reading this from an article published today, 22nd of November in the Mirror. Not for any particular reason. It was the first one that I opened. So there has been a shooting at a Christmas event in America in a place called Concord, which I think's North Carolina. I'm pretty sure it's North Carolina. 4 people have been rushed to hospital. I'm reading this, guys, straight off the news, okay? 4 people have been rushed to hospital following a shooting at a city's traditional Christmas light switch on. Now, if you live in the United Kingdom, you guys know that we have diversity barriers. We have cancelled a lot of our Christmas events because, you know, I'm not going to speculate why, but I think everybody knows why we're having to cancel Christmas events here in the United Kingdom. In the United States, they have a totally different system because guess what? Everybody can be packing in the United States. And look, I'm just going to throw it out there. I would rather be in the United States where I have the ability to defend myself than be here in the United Kingdom where I do not have the ability to defend myself. The event in Concord, North Carolina, yeah, I said North Carolina, was swiftly cancelled after the gunman opened fire at last night's crowds as crowds gathered. Distressing videos shared online shows families run in fear moments after the shooter had struck in the city's central square. Marquis Jenkins, a Concord resident at the ceremony, said, "I thought the fireworks went off. My daughter thought the fireworks went off, and here it was, 78 rounds of fireworks." Wow! So there were 78 rounds let off. That is a lot of that's either multiple shooters or they've changed magazines. It could have been a belt fed. I don't know what the laws are in the United States. Clips online show children running in tears, clearly scared by the horrific scenes which unfolded at the event. Organizers cancelled the event minutes after the attack. Police arrived to erect a crime scene where fireworks were supposed to have gone off and the entertainers were due to play music. So it's ruined them. Christmas, like, that's it now. That Christmas for those people, those guys are in a state of war now. You know, I've been saying that World War III and World War IV are coming together. You know, sometimes and I do think World War IV will actually start before World War III. So I'm just trying to get to grips with this, guys. Let me have a look on X, see if I can find any videos. Right, I'm just going to share with you. I'm just going to share with you guys on YouTube these videos. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a mass shooting in America while the turning on of the Christmas lights. Let me try and see what else we can find. Paradoxically, there's not many people reporting on this. There's like no UK news. Like I can't find any UK news outlets reporting on this. which is really odd. Really odd that not many people are reporting on this. Like, you know, I've got the Mirror, I've got the Economic Times, I've got News 18. Like, surely, like, you know, surely you'd expect all the big news outlets to be reporting on this, no? Or do you think this is one of those things they want to keep under the, you know, swept under the carpet? Right, let me jump over and see what's going on here. Sorry, guys, I've not got the chat on again. I do apologize. Right, I've turned it on now. So Martin Quinn is saying nobody's reporting on it because it's Good Morning to Islamic Britain. They only show you the news from the BBC. That is wrong. So Ali Bay is saying we're in the United. Yeah, there's nothing on the news. Look, I'll share with you this now. You guys can go and Google it yourself. This is from an article. I'm not going to share it actually because it's like there's ads all over. This is an article from the Mirror, and there's plenty of videos online. If you want to go on X, Concord shooting, families run in terror as gunman opens fire at Christmas event. So this is in Concord, which is in North Carolina. I think, you know, well, first of all, I hope nobody's hurt. You could only speculate who would be the gunman to open fire at people turning on the Christmas lights. Maybe they're going to have to change the Christmas lights in America to, winter lights, or just cancel them altogether like they do in many towns and cities in the United Kingdom. So that's where the news is from, guys. And I'm with you guys right now. It's very weird and strange and like suspicious how you would expect BBC, Sky News, GB News, you would expect all the big outlets to be reporting on this. I mean, this is kind of a big thing, but nobody's reporting on it, which, to me, is suspicious anyway. Yeah, X82. I think it's the Norwegian fishermen. That's what I'm going to assume. It's the Norwegian fishermen are at it again. Zoe Dean is saying, absolutely heartbreaking. Makes me so mad that they care more about Second Amendment than people's lives. Zoe, the Second Amendment in the United States is all about keeping checks and balances on the government. Without that Second Amendment, here in the United Kingdom, we don't have a Second Amendment, so we have no way to oppose our government. So I think the Second Amendment is a really good thing, and I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be taken down. Here in the United Kingdom, we have people going stabby, stabby, rammy, rammy, which is just as, I would say, rammy, rammy. But I would say they're a lot worse. But the difference here is we don't have the right. We don't have a Second Amendment, so we can't defend ourselves when people are going stabby, stabby, rammy, rammy. We just have to, phone the police or phone 101 and make like an or they tell you to go online and make an online request or something. Right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone on the chat. Right. Let me see if I can find anything else about this. In fact, you know what? When I would take this as a warning for everyone, guys. I would take this as a warning for everyone now. We've got a lot of Christmas lights being turned on this year. We've got a lot of Christmas lights being cancelled. And I would say that these places are, these places are not safe. Martin Quinn is saying, unless it's something about British right wing, they're not interested. Check in all newspapers. Nothing is on there. Yeah, it's definitely there, guys. It's definitely there. People are reporting on it, but there's an absolute media blackout on this. There's an absolute media blackout on this. Hang on. Cheryl Heppelstone is saying Christmas is never going to be the same. I don't think it is, guys. I don't think Christmas is going to be the same. It's absolutely, it's crazy. And Debbie Doobs is saying, why have our display names changed? I don't know, Debbie Doobs. I don't know. I was thinking that myself. I was thinking, why does everybody put an at the beginning of their thing? It must be something on the software. I don't know. I had nothing to do with it. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on. Good morning, everyone. I guess this is bad news. Bad news in America. Bad news for the world as well. It's when was the last time somebody tried to? It's always Christian. It's always Christian festivals and Christian gatherings and Christian and the Christian communities that get targeted with these things. So we are triple streaming this morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are on YouTube, we're on X, and we are on TikTok as well. For you guys on TikTok, I will be closing you guys down early, and then I will continue this live stream just on YouTube and X. And I do have to go early this morning, guys, okay? So I just want to run through what's been happening in the United Kingdom, what's been happening in the world. Excuse me. Because I've got to go and pick a carpet up. Martin Quinn is saying, Ring 101, wait 10 minutes. They say to you, you'll need somewhere in 10 hours. Meanwhile, make yourself good. No, they tell you to go and put your, they tell you to go and put your, they tell you to go and do it online. Right, let me just open this up, guys. Let me open some tabs up because I was running a little bit late this morning. Right, there's been a lot come out about Ukraine as well, about the 28, the 28 point, well, it's not a peace deal, the 28-point surrender treaty that does look like a surrender treaty. But it's a very difficult thing. It's, for example, the Ukrainians are losing more and more ground every day. So, it's kind of one of the situations where you either cut your losses or you go for broke. Personally, I think they should retreat or bring all their guys back behind the River Dnipro, and then they can form some sort of, defensive line there, because they just can't. They can't form. The Ukrainians can't form a defensive line where they are. You can't form a anything defensive in open countryside. Open countrysides for moving through. You can't defend. You need those. You need those features on the ground. So the Ukrainians, this is from 39 minutes ago, Ukrainians are struggling against the Russian assault on its power network, reports Luke Hardin in Cherniv. Residents there have told him how they are without power for 14 hours a day as they gather in invincibility points, I don't know what that means, to charge up in the warm. So can you imagine being like when the weather's this cold and you're without power for 14 hours a day? Right, here we are. Ukraine's allies meet at the G20 summit to strengthen the US plan as Zelensky says his country faces impossible choices. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, honestly, I can't even take him seriously anymore. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is expected to meet Ukraine's allies at the Johannesburg G20 summit on Saturday. I'm assuming that's today. Maybe next week. To strengthen a US drafted plan to end the war with Russia. It comes as Volodymyr Zelensky said on Friday that Ukraine faces one of the most difficult moments in its history after Donald Trump demanded Kiev accept within days. Yeah, it has to be today, doesn't it? Within days, a US-backed peace plan that would force it to give up territory to Russia and to make other painful concessions. Yeah. Where do you go with this? Where do you go with this? Do you just accept it? Does the international community just say, well, you know what? If you're a dictator now and you want a little bit more of somebody else's country, just go in there, take it, and then in time people will just give it you. It's. You try doing that with Keir Starmer's garden or something. Just go in there and take his garden and say, no, I'm having your garden. I want to keep this garden now. I'm having it. I guess might is right. So I guess this is arguments for strengthening militaries rather than cutting them. Western allies, including France's President Emmanuel Macron, Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and the UK's Keir Starmer, spoke to Zelensky on Friday in a show of solidarity. You can see what's happening. They reaffirmed their support for Kiev and said any agreement to end the conflict had to be genuinely fair and take into account Ukraine's own red lines. I don't think people understand what war is. I genuinely don't think they like whoever wrote that. War isn't fair. War's not, you don't have a war with someone and say, let's make sure this war is fair. A fair fight is bad tactics. The US president is pushing an aggressive timeline to end the conflict. US officials indicated and intends to heap unprecedented pressure on Kiev. Trump confirmed on Friday morning that next Thursday, Thanksgiving in the United States, would be an acceptable deadline for Zelensky to sign the deal, which European and Ukrainian officials have said amounts to a capitulation. And it does. Vladimir Putin says Ukraine is being unrealistic if it does not accept the US plan to end the war, declaring Ukraine is against it. Apparently, Ukraine and its European allies are still under the illusion and dream of inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia on the battlefield. The positive response from the Russian president adds to the weight The positive response from the Russian president adds weight to the views of European and Ukrainian officials that the deal amounts to a capitulation. So there's two options here. We're certainly heading towards a global conflict on an industrial scale. I think the United States are getting out of it. Well, they are getting out of this. I would say, and I would speculate, and this is my opinion, that the United States are doing everything possible to get themselves out of that conflict, knowing that conflict's going to go on. The United States can then stand up there and say, we tried with this peace deal, we tried to have this ceasefire, and we tried to do all this stuff, but it just did not work because, the Europeans, they want to fight on. But where do you go with that? Like, what if, Okay, so let's just say that they agree with it, all right? Let's just say they agree with it, and then the Russians then decide, we want a little bit more. Then what? Literally, then what happens? Do you give them a bit more? Like at some point, you've got to say, no, we're not doing that. At some point, you've got to say that. It's like, if you keep surrendering to people, they'll keep taking more. Zoe is saying, Sean, will you be ex-military, knowing how things you work? Do you think Ukraine will win this war at some point, or are they done for? Depends what we mean by win. I don't think the Ukraine, and I don't even think the Ukrainians know what they mean by win. The war in Ukraine is it's about Europe and Russia. So both sides on this, both the Europeans and the Russians fully understand what's at stake. If there's a flip side of this coin. If the Russians if the Russians take Ukraine, I don't think they will stop. I think they will go into Poland, in Czech Republic, Germany, France, and I think they will continue. If you look at how they're using their tactics. Likewise, if the Ukrainians push the Russians out of Ukraine, that's the end of Russia. That is literally the end of Russia. Russia will be balkanized. There will be independent states of Russia. It might even be the United States of Russia or something. Russia would be, obviously there would still be a Russia, but I would say it would be, it would be drastically reduced to like St. Petersburg, Moscow, and some of those, like some northern Arctic regions. So everybody knows what's on the table here. There's too much money being pumped into this country. There's too much happened. The whole Russian economy now is on a war economy. So as far as the Russians are, if the war stops, their economy is going to take a massive tank. Priv Caro is saying, for the first time, I'm happy with Norwegian Prime Minister because the little he has said about this, he's showing not being happy about this and supporting Ukraine not to do this. And Matt is saying, I heard most people in the east of Ukraine want to be Russian anyway and already speak Russian. Yeah, so lots of those people do want to be, well, I'm not going to say... I'm going to say there are people in the east of Ukraine who do identify as ethnic Russian. That is the absolute reality. Everybody in Ukraine speaks Ukrainian and Russian. It's just, they're a bilingual country. It's a bilingual country. But I could argue. You could argue that there are places in Bradford who don't speak. Who speak different languages. You could argue that there are places in Rotherham that speak different languages and they don't want to be, they don't want to be English. Certainly parts in Birmingham and London. Is that to say that they can be, that another country can come and take them? Absolutely not. Debbie Doobs is saying, what would happen to all these people who live in these areas? Do they become Russian? So a lot of the people have already fled the areas that are fighting. There are obviously some people who are still there. Yes, they would become Russian. Michelle is saying, that's what Ukraine have said. If he gives in, Putin will go after other countries. Putin is selling off its gold. Listen, guys, I just want to bring everybody back to this breaking news again because I'm absolutely shocked that no one else is reporting on this. There's been a mass shooting in the United States in a place called Concord in North Carolina. Hang on. How do I get that off? An Africa twin is on TikTok is saying the whole world has gone mad. It has. I'm just like, I can't for the life of me understand why this. Let me try and search for it again. Give me a second. Right, let me go to BBC. Right, I'm on the BBC website now, and I'm going to search for this on the BBC website. How do you search? No, I'm not going to search for it. How do you search? There's no search bar. Oh, that's weird. Nope, there's no search bar. Right, I'm not going to go on there. I'm going to go on. I'll go on Sky News. Right, so I'm on Sky News now. What? Where's the search bars? Right, home. You can't search. That's right. It just right. Okay. Well, you can't search. We have got top stories. Nothing. We've got top stories. Alarm raised over peace plan drafted by US and Russia. Marjorie Taylor Greene sudden resignation shows MAGA is fraying at the seams. Daily Mail owner in talks to buy Telegraph. Silence speaks volumes, talking about Andy Windsor. There's nothing about this. This is phenomenal. And there's no search bars on these either. That's weird. Right. Let's see if GB News has got a search bar. Nope, no search bar. No search bar on GB News either. That's weird. Why have they taken their search bars off? Have you guys seen that? Let me share this with you guys. Have you guys seen that new football stadium they're planning in Birmingham City for the football for the Birmingham City thing? Is it me, or does that look like a massive mosque with like minarets around it? It looks like a massive mosque to me. You got that one 100%. If you go to Dewsbury Town, you've got Chapel Town, which is a town in a town, all Muslim. Yeah, that, you know, let me get a picture, because there's a new football stadium planned for Birmingham City, and it just looks like a mosque to me. Right, let me share this with you, and just let me know what you think, guys. Do you think do you think this is going to double up as like do you think this is going to double up as a mosque? I don't know. That to me looks very mosquey. It looks like you could have like a big square thing in the middle and people walking around it. Well, good luck to them. Good luck to those Birmingham people. You know, they're getting their 1.2 billion. They're getting their 1.2 billion stadium bill, and they'll be able to do whatever they want with that stadium. Due to be ready 2031. I don't think we're going to be here 2031, guys. It's probably going to get turned into something for the military. Right, listen, you guys on TikTok, I am going to close you guys down now, and I will just be continuing this live stream on YouTube. So I do apologize turning you guys off. I will oh, and Paul is saying, "Oh, the joys of the 6%." I hope they have a great time in there, guys. I really do. I hope they have a fantastic time. Listen, guys, I'm going to turn you guys off on YouTube, and then sorry, I'm not going to turn you guys off on YouTube. I'm going to keep you guys on YouTube. I'm going to turn you guys off on TikTok. I will then be streaming just on YouTube and X. And I'm going to close this one down relatively early today, guys, because I've got to go and pick a carpet up. Anyway, for you guys on TikTok, I'm going to close you guys down, but don't worry, I'll be back again later on today at 8, and I bid you good morning. Oh, before I go, actually, did anybody see the face down with Anthony Joshua and that what's his name, Jake Paul? It was so funny. Right, let me turn this off. Yeah, the face down between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul was absolutely hilarious. Like, I think Jake Paul realized what he's bit off. And listen, I'm not counting him out. I'm not counting Jake Paul out. I'm not counting Jake Paul out or anything, because that Andy Ruiz knocked Anthony Joshua out. But like, to look at Jake Paul's face when he looks up at Anthony Joshua, he's thinking, oh, because he is a stature of a man, Anthony Joshua. He's like, what is he, like 6'4" or something? Oh, silly Gallardi. Right, let me try and get this up. I can't find that. Let me try and find this. Nazir Ahmad. Is it Ahmad or Ahmed? Yeah, I'm not getting anything. I don't know if we're restricted in the United. I don't know if I'm restricted in the United Kingdom here with what I can see. Oh, no, sorry. Right, okay. All I've got here, and I'll share this with you now, guys. Thank you for putting me onto that, Silly. So Silly is saying that the ABC News reported one shooter was named Nazir Ahmed. So I'm gonna jump on this. I'll share this with you guys now, and we'll. I'm only getting this for the first time here. 4 injured in shooting at North Carolina tree lighting ceremony. Police in North Carolina say 4 people were injured when gunfire erupted in a crowd during the annual tree lighting this Friday evening. Concord Police Major Patrick Tierney, speaking during a press conference, said the shooting happened around 7:30 p.m. on Union Street near Corbin Avenue, just steps away from the center of the event. Police said that the shooting... Oh, right. Sorry, I have got it there. Sorry. Police said that the shooting was between 2 suspects who were known to each other and identified as 18-year-old Nazir Ahmed Bostic, identified as one of the shooters. Okay, so what I'm getting here is this was not an attack on the... this was not an attack. Okay, right. So this was not an attack. Well, okay, right. As I'm reading this sounds like it was gang violence. Bostic, who was shot during the incident, was taken to hospital and listed in a critical condition. Authorities said he faces multiple charges, including assault with a deadly weapon, and will be served an arrest warrant upon release from the hospital. The second suspect, the shooter, who police only identify as a juvenile, was shot and is currently recovering in hospital, listed in a critical condition. Police said that the suspect will also be facing multiple charges, including assault with a deadly weapon. A 17-year-old was identified as a third suspect. Wow, these guys were having a right shootout. A 17-year-old was identified as a third suspect and is facing criminal charges, including accessory after the fact and inciting a riot. After the fact, what does that mean? Including accessory after the fact and inciting a riot. I'm just reading the words, guys. I don't they don't make sense. They were not injured in the shooting, police said. Emergency personnel from Concord Police, Concord Fire, and Cabarrus County EMS were already on site at the ceremony and responded quickly. In total, 4 people with gunshot wounds were taken to hospital, with 3 of them being listed in critical conditions and the other one is in a stable condition. Okay, so... And I didn't see that. I thought this would be all over the... this looks like it's not an attack on... I may need to change that title. So so what I'm hearing now is it looks like it wasn't an attack, but still a mass shooting at the Christmas light turn on in the United States. Belfast and Beyond is saying, I don't believe the mainstream, the media anymore, nor the government. Yeah, it's I don't think anybody does. And this is the problem, This is the problem, because we're in this kind of strange place in the world where nobody believes anything anymore. And honestly, guys, I saw an AI of that Mumdini guy standing behind Trump. I couldn't tell. I could not tell. Has anybody seen it? Let me try and find it. I'm not going to try and find it because I'm just conscious of the time. I need to go and collect the carpet. So you guys have... you guys have seen all these AI things and they're wild, right? They're absolutely wild. Like most of the time you're like, yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I can. But I saw this one and it's of Mumdini standing behind, it's Mumdini and he's standing behind Trump. And he's saying something like, yeah, when I came here, I was arguing with Trump, but now I've seen him. He's a fantastic guy. And I think he's awesome. And, I couldn't tell. I could not tell that was AI. So we're like, I would say this may have even already happened where, I mean, look at the BBC re-editing that. Go on. The Trump, re-editing Trump's speech where they make it sound like he says, we're going to walk down to Capitol Hill and I'm going to be there with you and we're going to fight. You know, that's what they edited it to say. What he actually said is, we're going to go down there to Capitol Hill and we're going to support our government leaders or something. And you think how can the BBC get away with that? Like, if they're doing that to the most powerful man in the world, like, what do you think they're going to re-edit for somebody like, just somebody who doesn't have the resources to take the BBC to court? Dave O'Rourke, hang on. Dave O'Rourke is saying, U.S. shelter-in-place order issued near Port of Los Angeles, 20 area. The Port of LA's a shelter-in-place order due to a hazardous air conditions from a fire above the cargo vessel. One Henry Hudson, Los Angeles Fire Department has escalated the situation to a hazmat incident. Residents have been told, get inside immediately, close all windows and doors, and turn off AC and heating. Stay with PE. Okay, so look, I don't know what this is, but what I have said is asymmetric naval warfare is going to be a new part of this. Asymmetric naval warfare is going to be a new part of the new war. Everybody always laughs about Russia. They all laugh about Russia not spending any money on their, not spending any money on their ships. But, who's really the joke on? Let's just say, for example, that this, and I don't know if it is, guys. It's probably not, but let's just go down that Let's just go down that road. Let's just go down that road. Let's go down the road that this incident here that David O'Rourke's talking about is bad guys were operating a ship and they sailed that in as close as they could to Florida, to California, and they set fire to it. It's very easy. It's very, very easy to do that. Oh, it's an accident. It's very difficult. It's very easy to do, and it's very difficult to point the finger of blame at those people then. And I've been saying for such a long time that we're going to start to see drone strikes coming from civilian shipping vessels. For example, oil tankers. Like, for me, the oil tanker, it is an absolute military, oil tankers are an absolute gift to the military. Like, can you imagine the outcry if the United States military blew up an oil tanker? Can you guys imagine that? Oil all over the place, that ship may be registered to China, to India, Russia. Who knows where that ship's registered? But here's the problem. If you're in a US naval ship, whatever, frigate, battleship, I don't know what they are. They're just boats to me. And you're sailing through somewhere, and you come under a drone strike, and the only ship around, and you can see these drones. They came, literally, you've got them on your radar. They came from one of those huge oil tankers. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? The massive, like, the things that just look terrifying. A drone strike come from there. How do you respond to that? Like, how does the Navy respond to that? Do you, A, return fire and neutralize the threat? Well, good luck with that, because whoever's done that drone strike are going to deny it. All your evidence has just gone to the bottom of the ocean, and you've caused an environmental catastrophe. Well, yeah, that's an option. Yeah, you can do that. You can send your special forces guys in. You can send your SEALs. Right, send a helicopter out there, take control of that ship. So the guys fast rope down, they're being all tactical. They're not going to find any evidence on that ship. It's all going to be been thrown over the side. I mean, to launch a drone, you just need a catapult. And like you can pick a catapult up. So they're not going to find any evidence. And now you've got an international incident where US Navy SEALs have now become pirates because they've stolen a civilian ship. Where do you go with that? The guys on the ship are going to deny everything. No, we didn't do it. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, only one person on that ship actually knows that there was a drone strike. Maybe the whole crew, the captain, maybe all the crew have no idea what's just happened. The crew have no idea what's just happened from their ship. Debbie Doobs is saying, talking about Russian ships, is the one near Scotland gone? Do you know what? I don't know. Let me just have a quick Google on that. There's no updates. I can't get any updates from from 2 days ago. The last update on the news was, so I said this was a non-story right at the beginning. I said, look, this is an absolute non-story. I don't know why people are talking about it. There's a lot more critical things happening. And it's an absolute non-story. I think the reason for that story and the reason the media pushed that story and pumped that story out was because they wanted to paint this picture. And Simon K is saying, I don't believe it. AI generated. Yeah, nobody knows anymore, do they? It's everything's AI generated. And Band again is saying, UK government says if Russian ship heads south, we are ready for it. And, it's not going to head south. It's not going to head south. And that's the non-story. We've got, we have submarines off the coast of Russia. We do flights in international airspace close to Russia, trying to sniff and see what we can do. It's part of spyfare. It's part of, spycraft, I guess. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down short today because I've got to go and collect a carpet. The leading story I wanted to throw out, guys, was there has been a mass shooting in America at the turning on of the Christmas lights in a place called Concord. 4 people have been injured. One of the arrested is called, and this is from ABC News. Yeah, this is from ABC News, published today. 4 injured in shooting, North Carolina tree lighting ceremony. If you go down there, police said that there was a shooting was between 2 suspects who were known to each other. One was identified as a gentleman called Nazir Ahmed Bostic, identified as one of the shooters. So you can only speculate what that is, potentially gang warfare between each other. I don't think this was an attack on the Christmas lights or or on the people. I think this was gang violence between, these people. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now and I will be back on later. So I bid you good morning and farewell.